All right, so we're in a position now that Keppel Electorate's growth is projected to increase by 23,000 people over the next decade. There's no strategy in place to handle the unprecedented growth, and no political party player at the moment has committed to working with our community to create one. So a lot of the issues that we're facing right now is hinging on creating a better community with that type of growth. Like the idea of how we want our community to be is just getting lost in the abyss of people coming in. So it's kind of hodgepodge development. No one has a clue what's happening with our infrastructure, even things down to our water supply. Like how many extra water tanks is our water supply going to need to be able to support that kind of level of growth, let alone things like roads and housing and that kind of thing. So,
and hospital.
Oh, the hospital, absolutely.
Well, let's even talk about people like dentists or occupational therapists.
Oh, absolutely.
Speech pathologists.
Yep.
Who need space for conducting their private practices. Do we have those buildings?
Actually, no. Now that you think about it, because I've been talking about the doctors and everything, you need doctors to come here and set up practices. We've got people coming here now who cannot get in to see a doctor. They're saying they're full.
Not about people coming here now. Locals who have not been to a surgery are now considered new patients. I have a neighbour across the road who's lived here for 40 years and has gone to 2 different practices, and both practices have said, we consider you a new patient and we're not taking new patients.
Because they hadn't been for a certain amount
of time. For 12 months.
Oh, goodness, they got kicked off the list.
Yeah.
Wow.
Our private hospitals closing down.
Our little martyr.
Yep.
Yep.
So if you have private health insurance and you move here, you won't be able to use it for a hospital locally. Good news is that building's going to be used for a dental surgery. So that's good news.
So where's the radiologist going? And then there's rooms there that specialists come once a week, either for orthopaedic or...
Well, that's a very good question. Where are they going to go?
Where are they going to go? Because there's no room in the public hospital.
So when you talk about strategy, you're saying, like, has anyone looked at, we need this many professional medical and auxiliary service, allied health facilities or infrastructure for private practices to even move into?
Or else everyone's got to travel to Rockhampton, and that's ridiculous.
Well, then that puts added pressure on their system.
And on elderly people too.
Well, and we've got a huge ageing community. A lot of people are moving here for retirement as well. So that whole community is going to need its whole own other level of support network around it, and building more aged care facilities and support services for them. Even looking at things like, where are the people who support them going to live? Their family's going to have to work and go to school, and they're going to need medical services of their own. So that needs to be addressed as well. So there's no particular strategy for that either.
Look, years ago at the hub, there was a 2-day conference. I was invited to it. The Watsons were there, Glenda May, the councillors, and the whole thing was to discuss what to do by 2050. And I don't know if any of the thoughts have ever reached Livingstone Shire or that they've buried it.
Oh, it'd be good to find the document then, because they might have created one.
Yeah.
I know Barbara Wilden did an excellent one, and I did find that, and it had encompassed quite a lot of things recreationally as well, which supported a beautiful type community that took everything into account, including everyone's well-being, and that was lovely.
We were put into groups, so there were people with parks and then children's playgrounds, the main street, and that's another thing. Every new development that's coming out should have its own pharmacy, bakery, and a little go-to shop.
That's right.
Which will keep these sort of shoppers, which are just casual, out of the CBD.
Yep.
but they're not thinking of that. They're
That's
doing
right.
big developments.
You know what's really interesting about this is that because if someone with disabilities or using wheelchair, willy walkers who wanted to walk, because actually we probably don't have enough taxis at the moment to even cater to our current population. Have we finished our town enough to be able to expand it? Because we heard at the CAEG meeting that it's going to take 500 years under the current budgets to finish the footpaths here. 500 years. So if we double in size, does that mean it's 1,000 years to have a footpath?
Well, that's a good question. And why aren't those things being incorporated into developments initially anyway? And I was thinking about that the other day when we were having a natter about it, because Nautica is going along Tamby Road, and that's an excellent expansion for heading out that way and joining up to Emu Park. But then between that and where the infrastructure is, there's a gap because that hasn't been developed yet. So the footpath ends at that development that's on Tamby Road, across the road from the vacant block there, which we've recently found out is going to have a Woolworths.
A Woolworths.
Right.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So that's news to everybody for the first time, maybe.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's it. Don't get up me if it ends up being wrong.
No,
but we did hear it from the mayor. So so that they do have a footpath, but it stops. So anyone trying to get from there then can't get to the Nautica if that has a footpath. But I just feel like that any of those developments that are coming along there now should have all the footpaths incorporated into the infrastructure, the same as roads, electricity, all those kind of things. So that type of access needs to be there already in place.
Right. So I mean, even with the disability taxis, maxi taxis that can take the wheelchairs, we don't have enough in town at the moment. In fact, we do have more taxis than are on the roads.
I think you only have one disability, because there's a lady who plays bridge in a wheelchair and she comes in a taxi.
Right.
And I think she said there's only one available.
Usually, it's because of the drivers. We don't have enough drivers. So then we're going to think, if we're going to double the size of the town, we may need a triple number of drivers. So we have to attract people to the people who are coming, fine. But then we're going to have to attract ourselves people who are willing to do those particular tasks.
Yep.
Otherwise, these people are going to be stuck in their homes. They're not going to be able to go out when they want to go out.
Unacceptable.
Well, a lot of people don't utilise council's car park. If council were to encourage the public to use that and run a shuttle service to both big shopping complexes and back, so there could be a timetable that you've got an hour and a half shopping at Coles, Keppel Bay Plaza, or the Woolworths Centre, and the shuttle bus, and they go back to their vehicles.
Well, public transport.
That would keep traffic out of the...
That's a brilliant idea, a free bus that just keeps going in a continuous loop.
That's right.
So that would relieve a lot of pressure off
that's
a
right.
whole lot of people and services.
Was it you and I having that discussion about transport's actually more expensive to run if people pay a fare than what it is if they ran it without the fare? In Queensland, everyone pays a fare, because we're having that discussion because now it's 50-cent fares. But the reality is it's actually cheaper to run public transport free, because they don't have to set up all the systems for the ticketing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's actually costing the taxpayer more to have a ticketed system for public transport than it is if we offered it for nothing.
Right, because then you also need the inspectors to check if the people on the facilities are
you need all the cards to be made, and then need all the machines for the cards to go into, and then they have to go through all of the accounting and all of that sort of stuff. Like, it all builds up the costs of it, and essentially it's cheaper. I'll have to find a link to that and I'll put it underneath because I can't remember whether it was us having that conversation one day.
It wasn't me, no.
Yeah, okay. Oh, my goodness. And that just astounded me. I thought, well, then why is it a ticketed system? If it's cheaper to run without a ticketed system, why is the taxpayer footing the bill for additional money, throwing it into a service that then should be free because it's cheaper to run free.
Well, I think it would keep the main bulk of the traffic all under one roof. That's if they keep the lifts going. But Keppel Bay Sailing Club used to have a shuttle service.
Oh, they did,
And
yeah.
I don't think they do anymore. And I mean, making all that money from the pokies, because I know they used to pick up a girlfriend of mine on a Thursday evening and run them and then let them know. They'd give a call, Cranston Sisters or whatever, your bus is waiting for you.
Well, the railway used to as well, didn't they?
Hey?
That was all pre-COVID. The railway had one as well.
That's correct.
And they would, get everyone home safely, which was nice.
The Rocks had one.
The Rocks had one, yeah.
Yeah, the Rocks certainly.
And by the way, if we just talk about a tourist town, if we have relatives come up to town, we rarely go out for dinner anymore because too many times we're stuck in town. We can't get a taxi and we have to walk 20 kilometres to get home.
Goodness.
So someone will walk home to pick up the car to come and pick us all up.
Oh, wow.
So
I
don't
can't
go out,
say how many people I've dropped home after a function. I've dropped them off because they can't get a cab.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the cabs aren't fair. I gave an elderly lady a lift home in Birdwood Avenue, and she had walked in the heat from Birdwood all the way into town to the hairdresser and was almost on the verge of collapse.
Oh, goodness.
And I said to the hairdresser, tell her I will drive her home. And the cab said it's not worth starting the engine for a $10 fee.
Oh, see, that's ridiculous.
See, that's, So I think that Carve have got their own bus that comes in and out for them. But the rest with cabs, sorry.
Well, here's the thing with the aged care facilities, they do have those vehicles. But from my experience with Blue Care Capricorn Gardens, if a resident needed to go out for a specific medical appointment, the nursing home refuses to take them.
Oh.
They'll only use that vehicle for group activities that they're doing themselves for the residents.
Oh, wow. So that's just like a cost-saving measure or something, is it? Because I thought in aged care facilities, like they're paying their fees to be there, they're paying to be in that situation so they can have that type of service and get to their doctor and that kind of thing. So that's just sort of being refused to them. Or are they just assuming that service is for them and then when they get there they realise it's not? Because that seems pretty inappropriate. That they can't help their
Well, we don't
especially when it takes if you've got a specialist appointment in Rockhampton, that is a $200 return taxi fare.
Oh, good Lord.
Yes, only because
that's
a cab
outrageous.
from here to Rockhampton cannot pick up a fare from Rocky to Yeppoon.
So the cab can't wait for you.
Oh, true.
No. No.
Oh, well, that's silly. Why wouldn't they?
So you take a risk about whether you can get a maxi taxi in Yeppoon to take you there in time. Then you take a risk if there's a taxi there to bring you back.
So you could be stuck in there. You could be stuck up there.
One time, my sister and I went to the Pilbeam Theatre. We had to get back home afterwards. No taxis. It just so happened that one of the girls playing in the band, her father was a driver, and he went home to pick up his taxi to come and to, out of the kindness of his heart, to take us home. Otherwise,
oh, what a beautiful man! That's
yes.
God, that would have been so stressful. I can't even imagine how stressful that would have been. Just to think, wow, we're stuck here for the night. What am I going to do?
Yep. And the other thing is that once she gets home to the nursing home, her food is already thrown into the bin.
Oh.
And she has diabetes, so then we have to organise food.
See, that's really inappropriate.
The sad thing is, for a lot of people who sort of think, why are you on your high horse? Because A, you're not in a wheelchair, and
Mm.
B, you don't use a wheelie walker, and C, you don't do this. The thing is, how do we know that there, by the grace of God, go I down the track?
Yeah.
And quite honestly, with access and equity, I mean, that gentleman who came in with the stoma,
Mm.
I had no idea that this poor fellow couldn't go into any toilet because there's no hooks for him to hang his bag on.
Yep.
I mean, we don't know these things. We're not mind readers. And unless the public fill us in, we have no idea.
That's right. That's a good point, Chi-Chi.
Yep.
In fact, this we could make a call out to all the people who have those issues to
Absolutely.
bring it to the attention of our Capricorn Access and Equity group.
Yep.
Because we're collecting the data on that
Yep.
to present to the different levels of government in
that's
order
right.
to prove that this needs to be addressed and funded.
Yep. And at the moment, we're putting a website together. So it's staged on my hosting at the moment, but it will have its own website address once we've got that going. But at the moment, you can still jump on that website, and I'll have the link down wherever this video is posted. That link will be there, and people can jump on there and they can fill out the form, even if they can't make a meeting. Like any little thing that you can do to tell us where there's an issue that we can address for you on your behalf, because we know what it's like for carers and things to be able to get to a meeting or to make phone calls and that kind of thing. Like if you can have 5 minutes to sit down in front of a computer or on your phone and fill out the form to say, look, I have this issue that needs to be addressed. I cannot navigate this footpath and I cannot get to this place that I need to be, or I'm having this issue with accessibility here, or I can't get into this venue, or anything like that at all.
Yes.
Then we can bring it up in the meeting.
Yep.
And I think in terms of with what you said about, you know, why are we on our high horse? Well, why not? Why can't everyone be? Why can't we have compassion for everyone in our community, so everyone can feel included? I think that it's for everyone to feel that way.
Now, there's
Everyone.
another thing there too, Patrina. Not everybody knows what the name of our group is. So I feel that we need to have it out there. So a sign has to go to the library, a sign to the tourist bureau, just so that, and it wouldn't even hurt if we had a goddamn sign in every toilet between here and to say, if you have a problem, this phone number, and there's somebody within our group who is prepared to take the phone call, take the name. Now, Big Mouth here goes and talks to anybody, and that lady who was in the RSL with her cerebral palsy child, to learn that she can only come down here from Rockhampton on holiday when the only room in the whole of the Capricorn Coast, Yeppoon to Emu Park, has a shower recess that takes a wheelchair.
Right. So what you're saying is that we had a visitor at the RSL, a young woman who had cerebral palsy, came down with her parents.
Yeah.
And there was only one accommodation facility on the coast that had a room that suited their needs.
Yes. And then they wanted to take her in our wheelchair friendly to the water. But before they did that, they went into our disabled rooms and they couldn't do it.
This is at the lagoon?
At the lagoon, for the simple reason to change this 18-year-old beautiful kid, they need to have a bed and a hoist. And we have none of that.
And if in the absence of the hoist and the bed, what do they do when you have a...
They can't take her.
They
so
put
she
them on
missed
the
out.
floor of the toilet.
No, they would.
Goodness.
That's your only other option.
That's
so you
option.
you either accept you're going to be changed on the floor of a toilet, such as what's going to happen at the sailing club.
So the sailing club haven't put in a proper toilet there for people with a disability.
They've got a disabled toilet, and that toilet's also a shower. but it
Oh,
doesn't have the facilities for people who are actually really disabled to.
this is the new one.
Yes,
Correct.
The one that got
brand new
$20 million.
Brand,
Yes.
that's the one.
So that facility is great, but but that $20 million is only for 75% of the population. 25% are
Okay.
not accommodated.
Now, the toilet that they've just put up in Stocklands, which is phenomenal.
And that was one of our original Access and Equity girls,
Oh, brilliant stuff.
Jody.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Now, it's got a particular name. What are they calling that? That's the
I-
Change place.
changing
place.
or
Change
something.
place facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what needs to go in down at the
Well,
lagoon.
I was on.
Then, if people cannot. So, just
The
for
lagoon,
everyone's interest sake.
Emu Park, Cooey Bay, the new Cooey Bay pool.
Yeah.
And you'd want one down on the beach, Yeppoon Main Beach.
Yeah. All right. So the one, I'm pretty sure they are getting one at the Cooey Bay pool because we did have the meeting about that and we asked for a changing place toilet. So I have to check that to
Let's
make
check
sure
that
that's
up.
happening.
As I understand it, there is a process that we have to apply for additional government funding because it wasn't included in the original plan.
Right. Okay. Yep.
And you know what caused that with Jody? That we were in Rockhampton and we had a disability gentleman who messed himself.
Oh, no.
And hello, we had to go home to change him so we could bring him back out again. Now, not everyone can do that.
No.
You know, you take your person out, first thing you've got to do is get them in the car and get them home because let me tell you, it's not one person who does that. And these poor buggers, they have no control. Some can't even talk to say what their problem is.
Yep.
So, you know, then the other side of it, and that was interesting because I'm in the stroke support group because I work with brain injuries. And it's very interesting. If you go into a toilet, everybody assumes that you have the use of your right hand. But if you don't, you have to go to a toilet with a carer to help you on and off the toilet.
Of course, because we were at Cooey Bay the other day where they put in the toilet that's got the massive, beautiful cockatoo on the side of it now.
Yep.
And when we went into there, we're thinking, oh, great, look, it's got everything. It's got the hook, it's got the thing. Michael, even with all his ability and strength, could not lift up the rail because they've got those ones now that sort of lift up and swing down so you can put the rail either side of you. Couldn't lift it up and pull it down. It took a huge amount of force.
I think they bought it from Tamu.
Yeah, that's right. And either it needs some sort of oiling or whatever. But anyway, it was too stiff. So I don't think anyone really, I mean, I probably should have tried it, but I don't think I would have been able to lift it up and out. So anyone who didn't have enough strength to do it.
Squatting is very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, because
So-
that's the position they're in, sitting down
Yeah.
to bring those. Yeah.
The other thing is, if you are in a wheelchair, where we saw with Macca, is he able to lift that high to bring it down in the first place for him to be able
that's true, yeah.
to make the transition?
Yeah, yeah. Well, even talking about that, you know, when we were with Macca the other day going for lunch and how hard it is for him to even be doing things like washing his hands and stuff and making sure he doesn't fall out of his chair or the way things where doors swing open,
then you can't
get out and those sort
And
of
he
things.
has told us that he was demonstrating that he has actually in the past fallen out of his chair and have had to call for help.
Yep.
And other times he's not been able to reach the door or being
that's
able
the
to
Strand
open it.
Hotel.
He has to call. Yes, correct.
Yep.
And he has to call out to be rescued.
Yep. Which is a terrifying thought.
It is, and
because he's a big man. And this is another thing. Not everybody's a lightweight.
No,
and when
that's
you
right.
made the suggestion they lay on the floor, what if
Who's
it's a
gonna pick
mother
them
who's
up?
taken
Yeah.
the daughter? She can't lift an 18-year-old up. And
That's
a
correct.
lot of these patients are obese because they don't get the exercise. So you're dealing with a disability and obesity.
Mm.
And that's not being nasty.
Which is perfect with the changing place toilets because they have a swing,
A hoist.
the hoist, and then it actually runs on a like the T
A track.
Yeah,
a track on the top.
Yes.
So then they can get in their hoist here and either be on the table and then they can be swung around to the toilet or the shower.
Yes.
And then get back and be wiped and cleaned and all that sort of stuff and dried, all those sort of things, and just making life so much easier.
And the signage the signage is so important.
Mm.
I think that we get, as I said, a thing put in all the public toilets, be they for disability or non, telling where to get in touch with us if there's an issue,
Yep.
telling people that there's wheelchair friendly at the lagoon. Livingstone seems to be a little behind with putting up signs to let people know exactly what is available.
Yep. Although I am surprised how engaged they are
Or
in
they
terms
are
of
now.
the group that you guys have been a part of for a long time, and me only just recently. But I was actually quite proud of how, and usually I'm not very proud of Livingstone, but how many council workers do go, and different ones at various times, and actually listen and do stuff. And sometimes they need a little bit more of a poke and a prod, but they get there.
That
I was
never
really
happened
surprised.
before when we used to have the meetings at the hospital. That's where we first met.
Okay.
Very, very rarely did we see anybody from council.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though it may have been their portfolio. No.
Okay.
I think the first person ever to go to a stroke support meeting was Andy Ireland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I
So
invited
it's only
him.
recently then that the council's really started to come on
Yes.
board with that. Yeah, well, that's excellent.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
And the
was-
fact that they do allow the senior officers
Oh,
to come.
absolutely.
Bill
Yeah.
Ludwig never attended.
No,
John
well, that's not
Bowen never
surprising.
attended. None of them ever attended
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
You know?
And
I've
now
been
we've
I've
reached
been
that
with
level.
it, what, 15 years, 16
That's right.
years?
And you have reached that level, which is excellent because you generally have, the mayor goes, every time now I've seen him there, even though he's
Yes.
late or whatever, he will drop in or
Which is great.
councillors,
Yes.
different councillors come from time to time, even when it's not their portfolio.
Yes.
Sometimes they'll jump in, which is really cool.
So Glenda Mather is always there. It's not her portfolio. That should be.
Yeah.
Rhodes
brilliant.
Watson used to always be there as well.
And Lance now's there all the time. Andrea's dropping in when she's available.
When she can, yes.
Yeah, and actually, what I love about it too is Michael Creedman. So he's right up there in
Yes.
council, and so him coming down to those meetings is fantastic.
Yes.
And Jake.
Oh, and Jake's brilliant.
Jake's wonderful.
Mm.
But the other thing too, I think it was Macca who mentioned that he got a torn off strip of paper to tell him where all the
at the
car
information centre.
parks
Yeah,
and everything.
but they
I
didn't
mean,
have
a
any of that on
torn
it.
A torn off sheet of paper. Seriously, that booklet has to be made available. And
Yep.
once again, library and the public places
Yep.
that people can pick it up. Doctor surgeries.
Yep.
That's brilliant, Chi. Like if we're able to do this printed map,
Yep.
with which told everyone where the gold standard accessibility facilities are and how to navigate this and that, and we made it accessible not only online, but actually on the tables in
Yeah.
waiting surgeries,
Yeah. Yep.
would be a game changer.
Yep.
For tourists coming to the information centre, that's another idea
Yes,
of yours to put
yes.
something there so they can
Yep.
give that to them.
And the other thing, Yeppoon we're meant to be a tourist. That's what
Town.
everybody's saying.
Yeah.
We're a tourist town. How does anybody know that if they stayed an extra day, there's the pineapple parade? They don't know we don't have a local newspaper. They're in a motel. How would they know that there's going to be a pineapple festival or that we've got the kites flying out at Emu Park or that there's a car, they have the vintage cars and things there, and what days the markets are on?
Yep.
I mean, I pulled up at the fig tree markets last weekend. Mind you, I was attacked by all the politicians, but vote for me, vote for me. Of course I will, darling.
Sure, Chi-Chi's walking past going, no, and no, and no.
But there was a group of people sitting down, and I happened to know one, and these people were sort of saying, we never knew these markets were here until we ran into these people, and they said, oh, look, there's lovely markets. You must go and see them, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, how much business is, and these people have to pay to go, and they've got all their produce, and it takes them hours to put it out there. I know, because I used to sell jewellery at markets. And, you know, how many more people
would have been there?
Would even stay an extra day?
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss that.
Yep. Well,
or, hey, there's going to be a music festival. There was on the beach.
Yep. That's what I feel like's in, you know, like even though I've got my tourism website and a lot of that stuff is on it, I think it's important now to up the ante here in council to provide an app for our town, a tourist app. And those sort of things should have happened already, but, you know, I'm not the tourist organisation.
I'm pretty sure
an app would be perfect because it could have all of that on it. It could have the yearly calendar. People come into town and they go to the Tourist Information Centre. There's a little QR code. So, look, you can download our whole booklet here on our app that tells you where all the toilets are, all the disability parking is, all the events that are on throughout the year. And it's updated regularly with all the dates and everything on it. And all they have to do is look at their phone and go through, right, we're here for a week. But they can do that before they come here. They can download that app a month before they come, and they can plan their whole stay, and they can go, oh, but the kite festival's on Sunday, let's stay an extra night.
It'd be interesting because then we could they could even know, like, is that event an accessible one?
Absolutely. Yeah, what is it, what everything that's accessible, and then also it'll encourage those people who aren't accessible to up their game for the 25% of our community that should have easy access to all of those places, and then they can get support too. There's funding and everything to help them get themselves into a position where they're accessible.
We're still stuck.
Yeah.
We are stuck in a rut because we don't have accommodation.
That's right, yeah. It comes back to that, doesn't it?
It comes back. And can I tell you...
We don't have enough beds.
My husband was in real estate and we would get people coming through from Melbourne and all over the show, and they'd say, we're interested in putting in a motel and we're looking at this, this, this and this. What council are you? And Morris would say, Livingstone. Oh, forget it, we'll go to Airlie Beach. And it was. Livingstone was a stepping stone to Airlie Beach. That was 47 years ago.
Yep.
And you know what?
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Iwasaki is the only accommodation house that's been built in 47 years because Ocean, Salt, and the other one, Echelon, they are not motels. They are private residences that sublet.
Yeah.
So, hello, what have we got? Surfside, Sail Inn, and Bayview.
Yep. And it's interesting that you've brought that up because that's one of the things I've got in the strategic plan for the town. Where is the strategic plan for all the accommodation that we're going to need for all the people who are coming here to retire? Where are their families going to stay when they come to visit? And the different levels of accommodation that they're going to need, the pricing. You know, not everyone's going to pay $300 a night to stay on the beachfront. You know, they might need an $80 room a night that's maybe a little bit up the hill that's closer to where they want to visit and is more affordable for them. So none of that's in the works for, you know, anything.
A lot of these things
here
are private enterprise investments, right?
Yes, of course they are.
So, but why would I as a private investor spend money building a hotel here if I know that it's very easy, I would be better for me to just buy 10 houses and turn them to Airbnbs? Because I don't have to build them. I don't have to buy the land. I don't have to go to the council. I can just do it.
Yep.
You can't buy the houses.
Correct.
My friend.
That's correct.
You know,
there's no need to get personal, Chi-Chi.
No.
Hypothetical.
I am capable of buying a house. She meant that there's no house to buy. So.
Yeah,
Well, that's true
I'm
too.
just
Yep.
saying. Now, for example, everywhere at the moment, it's looking for staff, right? Not only here on the Capricorn Coast, Rocky, Sunshine Coast. So my son puts an ad in YouTube or whatever in the caravan industry, which is repairs and, grey nomads bring the bed down and put a cupboard there and the bed's down here. He got 40 applications back, not one Australian. Now, there is a firm in the Philippines that are sending Philippine workers over here, but you have to provide accommodation. So JRT is advertising for staff.
Okay.
So Brett said, Mum, ring Jason and tell him about this firm. So yesterday, Jason returns my call and I said, listen, Brett's in town. There's a company that's got, staff that'll come over, but the Australian government says you have to provide them with accommodation, which is fair enough, right? And he said to me, yes, I know about that, Chi, but he said, you've got to do it. And I said, you are building out on North Pine Road. Why don't you put in a duplex or a triplex and hello? And he said, oh, didn't think of that. Hello. He's got the money. He's got big contracts coming up and you can get it. There's a fellow in Rocky who has 4 fellows. And he said they are the hardest workers. They're not bludgers and they are so appreciative of a good life.
Wonderful.
Now, hey, where are we slipping? Where are our people? Where are young people
Yep.
doing the jobs?
Well, actually, we've been discussing that recently too, about what kind of jobs we want our young people to be here for. But even when we're attracting people like doctors and other allied health services, like they might come here, but what is their partner going to do for work? And if they're also we might be lucky and we'll get them and they'll fill another role that's needed in the community. But quite potentially it might be that they might be looking after their kids outside of work hours. And what are they going to do during the day when they want to still work themselves and keep their brain active or anything like that?
And the career going.
In career,
because in certain careers, if you haven't been actually actively in it, your marketability to get a job rapidly declines.
Absolutely.
That would be areas of technology. Could even be areas of finance, given the laws change.
Yep.
A whole range of...
Well, Livingstone tried to encourage Brett's company to come up here. And the mayor drove him around all the industrial sites. And yes, they were excited and said, fantastic, there's plenty of parking, we can do the caravans, but where are we going to get the staff?
Okay, yep.
Same argument. And if you bring your staff, where are you going to accommodate?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
that's the other problem right now too. Like even housing for people who are coming here, like our housing, what is it, like point something percent of the rental market is what the rate is at the moment. So it's usually 3 or 4.
The vacancy rate.
Vacancy rate is like less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
So even if we're attracting these people here, where are they going to stay? Where are they going to live? And I mean, a lot of it's got to do with Airbnbs as well. But these people can't afford to stay in an Airbnb while they're here working. So we've got that problem at the moment.
So here, why I would just like to talk why Airbnbs should not be the prime source of tourist accommodation. From our experience, because we just seem to have Airbnbs popping up all around us, is that they come with lots of cars. We've got 5 cars parked next door and outside our house right now, and lots of different big families. They don't go, none of these people, or very rarely do they go out, because they've got this beautiful house on opposite the ocean.
So they eat at home.
They eat it. So the person who gets the tourist dollar is Woolworths and BWS.
Yep.
They have a big party, make lots of noise, okay, but then they come over. They're very friendly people. They'll come over and say, look, sorry, it was so loud last night. We're having a 50th birthday. It's like, okay, well, you're
Lovely
the
for
10th one this...
Where was our invitation?
So we've got the 50th birthday party Airbnb. So they're not bringing real tourist dollars into
So
the
are
town.
these Airbnbs, anybody advocating we are wheelchair friendly?
I would doubt that there is a single Airbnb that has an appropriate. They certainly wouldn't be having your slings,
not an accommodation
your lifters,
No.
and shower chairs, shower commodes, and such equipment that you can't. Like you would literally need a 2-ton truck to carry what my sister's equipment was to go on holidays.
Yeah, wow.
And insurance.
Yes.
Well, even an accessible venue anyway, probably quite possibly need ramps and things to get into houses. Like I can't imagine too many Airbnbs or these new modern estate houses that are all on the ground.
But I don't think that's our answer to tourism.
No,
that's the point.
Goodness no. And in fact, I mean, I have to be straight out there. Like I don't think Airbnbs should be as accessible as they are. Anyway, like I think they're part of the problem with our rental crisis is that all of these houses are vacant except for Airbnb, and it's put too much pressure on the rental market because it's taken all of those houses out of the rental market.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm all for people. People can make money however they want, and good for them. If you've got an Airbnb, great. Take advantage of the system while it's still the way it is. I know they've changed it recently where they can, I think, is it they get taxed at a higher rate if they have more than so many nights a year?
I don't believe in Livingstone.
Oh, right. So I think that's something that should be looked at here in Livingstone.
Noosa Council, they have, when we went down there, we weren't allowed to have more than 2 cars.
Okay, yeah.
So why? Because all the Airbnbs, there were just cars everywhere, clogging up the streets, parked on, and it just looked like a used car sale yard.
Well, and using our infrastructure. So they're putting pressure on our infrastructure that we can't afford to fix now. And even with the increase in population that's happening, our infrastructure is already under pressure. So our roads and all of that sort of thing. So they're
because
putting
they're not going to the
pressure.
restaurants, they're entertaining at home. They're not actually adding support to our nighttime economy.
They're not spending.
Yeah.
The money they're spending goes into the owners of the Airbnb's pockets and not really contributing to the economy of the Capricorn.
And that's a very good point. And the Airbnbs that I'm aware of that are close to me are not owned by locals. They're owned by people from interstate or down south.
Yeah, so that money is just completely taken out of the economy.
Actually not going into our economy, it's going to someone else's economy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we need to address where we have hotels. The Capricorn Enterprise calls this the accessible coast, which is disgraceful.
Yeah,
part because it's not true.
To a couple of meetings.
But yes, never came to an Access and Equity Group meeting, despite being invited often. If we attract those accessible people, the people who require those accessibility, because we've marketed as stuff, and they come here then realise it isn't, then I feel that's really poor behaviour.
Very, very bad
to vulnerable people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, of course, encouraging them to come here, claiming it's accessible. I guess to start with, though, like this young lady who has only one room to come down to, when they try to ring up for accommodation, they're going to find that it's going to be difficult for them to get anyway, because I'm guessing that people in that position have spent so many times getting caught out that they do all of their homework beforehand and find out, well, look, we probably can't come here at all.
Yes, exactly. They may spend hours and hours and hours ringing around, checking this, which restaurants they go to, and then because of the accessible coast, they think, it's going to be easy to find accommodation. And so we're just wasting these people's time. And who may be organising that? Maybe a support worker paid by the NDIS.
Oh, that's
you know what?
Oh, yeah, of course, I didn't even think of that. Yeah,
whilst we're
using more resources.
Yep.
Yep.
And achieving nothing.
Yep.
Whilst we're throwing around all these brilliant concepts and ideas, I think Livingstone Shire Council needs to get off its butt. And haven't we got 2 media people now? One working for the mayor and one working for council?
Well, that's no. They have a media department of their own that's got a group of
Right.
people, but the
Perhaps
councillors and mayor now have 2 extra their PAs, so they're
Okay.
support people. But one of them was asked to have
Would it-
marketing experience.
would it not be the most logical, sensible thing that once upon a time, Farnborough Road from the shop up to Gusmore Drive was zoned as high-rise D, 17 floors? Couldn't Livingstone Shire put out there, come to the Capricorn coast, invest in, we need you desperately,
Yep, I
right?
reckon that's an excellent
Get
point.
all the real estate agents, right, fair across the board there, approach the business houses, because a lot of people bought because it was high-rise D. And Kath Grayson, my friend, she's one, and the units there. We bought there, and then a sly mayor decided that he'd downgrade it. It has to be more than 3 levels to be viable for a lift. So even if they go 6 levels, shops can be there, restaurants can be
Absolutely.
there, and they'll never cast a shadow across the caravan park or the beach because the mountain's behind
That's
them.
right, and you're absolutely correct. Farnborough Road is perfect for that. And I don't know about 17 stories, but I think medium density housing along there
So
is
you
perfect.
do it on a level like that.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
These 6 units have a lift.
Absolutely. I know we've had a lot of the community whinging about, no, we can't do this, we can't have that. But we're really in a position where we cannot hold that mentality anymore because this is happening without us. And unless we start stating now that, right, we cannot keep the urban sprawl pushing out the way it is because we want to attract people here who have the type of lifestyle that they like, which might be apartment living across from the beach and medium density. Farnborough Road's already perfect for that. It's got the 4 lanes of traffic as well, so there's not much infrastructure that has to change for that to become a possibility.
And if you
but we
have a
can
look
get
at
a lot of rates money into town by producing that type of accommodation. And Michael, you were saying the other day something about the land acquisitions for council could do.
Well, the thing is, firstly, what we're saying now to people coming here is that we don't want people who would like to live in apartment dwellers. Please stay where you are. Or go now, which is sort of silly. But the other thing is that because we've already invested in a 4-lane road, massive underutilized road there. It's got massive pipes for your sewage, water, electricity that's served.
Thank you, Mr. Iwasaki.
Thank you to Mr. Iwasaki for all
much.
that infrastructure he put in. So we could house how many hundreds or how many thousands of people there over the years with 0 cost to council.
Yeah.
Whereas to get out to all those paddocks,
roadworks,
that's what we have to pay for.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But also too, here on Farnborough Road, there is a big gap of grassland before where the thing is. So it's not even as though you're going to have hundreds of cars parked on Farnborough Road. They have the diversion.
Of course. But they can also, if they're medium density, they also have underground parking.
That's exactly right.
Not even underground. It could actually just be under the building itself on the ground floor or around the back, that kind of thing.
My suggestion, and may I be suggestive, is why don't we get the mayor and all his councillors, and I don't care, we can do cushions on the floor here, and sit down and tell them. Because do you know what? I honestly don't think they have personally stopped to think this out.
Do you know what, Chi-Chi? I've got some exciting news for you. That I am the independent Keppel for candidate, Patrina Murphy. You can all vote for me. Give me your first and your second vote. But that's the whole point of my campaign. Obviously, don't think I'm going to win. However, the whole point is to get awareness out there that there is no strategy for this town. There is no strategy
Nothing.
that identifies the growth that's happening here right now about the things that we need to make sure our town becomes the city that we want it to be, not a hodgepodge of this, that, and everything else, and just go, oh, gee, didn't that turn out a bit dog's breakfast? Like we're in a position now that we can all start making decisions and maybe having little community forums and that kind of stuff to go, right, we're getting up to 63,000 people over the next decade are going to live here, apparently, according to
Yes,
some professional
the statistics.
organisation. And where are they all going to live? How are they all going to be serviced? How are they going to get around on our roads? How is emergency services going to get over to Cooey Bay in the morning when it's bottleneck traffic and someone's having a terrible incident over there? You know, all of these things have not been thought out, not strategized, not planned for, which means no one's going for money to make all these things come together. No one's looking for development, attracting, all of that sort of stuff. It's not even been thought about. And so the culture too, like the culture of our town, goodness knows what it's going to be like. But I know that if something doesn't start happening in the next election cycle, we're going to end up not quite dystopian, but it's not going to be very comfortable for everybody.
Well, let's look at Lioness Park, which is on Scenic Highway in the middle of Lammermoor Beach. On the weekends, there are so many cars there. They're actually parking on the streets, on nature strips, over
everything,
pathways.
yes.
So that's already now that can't cope with our current population.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's gonna happen. Just segue here. You should mention when you talk about your candidacy that your slogan is.
What city do you want our electorate to become?
What type of, yes, that's it.
What type of city do you want our electorate to become?
Our town. So what?
Well, I was going to say town, but because we're in an election, I was thinking we need to grab electorate. Because when we say town, you know, everyone gets upset about Yeppoon. You're always talking about Yeppoon. It's all about Yeppoon. So I feel like people will start thinking that we're only discussing
the point
Yeppoon.
of that phrase is that we may not, you're correct there, but maybe you can say township, but the point is that you're trying to say is like
shire?
you are going to turn into a city.
Yeah.
You are a town.
Maybe I should
You haven't
say
realised
shire.
that you haven't you're still thinking, oh, what type of town we want? Forget it.
Yeah, that's right.
You're going to become
Town's
a city.
gone. Yeah.
And you will become a city because once you get to a certain population, it's better to become a city because you get more funding.
Yeah.
So, and Bill Lugweed's already tried to turn it into to be designated as a city.
Yeah.
And that even takes you to another level because people say like, I might move to such and such city.
Yeah.
And you expect when you move to a city, you're going to have city level services.
That's right.
That is your transport, that is your car parking, that is your recreation facilities,
pharmacies.
Yes.
Yep.
And there was some research that we've looked at that was just released on the 4th of September by a whole range of things, and they said that looking at New South Wales regional towns that are experiencing similar things, but not on the scale of this town in terms of population growth, sea changes, etc. Is that this one particular town, 40% of the people said that they would likely move within the next 5 years. So the point is that these people who come are already already mobile. That doesn't mean they're going to stay.
Yeah. Yep.
So we may build everything and suddenly people go like, this is rubbish, I'm moving on, and our town starts to shrink.
Yeah. So how do we keep those people? Because we want those people to be the people who are providing our services and supporting the people providing services. If they come here and they're fantastic people and then they shoot off, well, even within their industry, they're going to start talking to other people and go, well, actually, you really don't want to move there. I know my job's up for grabs there, but maybe look somewhere else. We want to keep them. Attract them here and keep them. And how do we do that? We provide a beautiful culture.
If there's just transient, you're never going to build community.
Yeah, we want to support community, and that goes back to having the Farnborough Beach built up as well, because then we can have people having a beautiful time in town and beautiful cultural events and all those sort of things that are going to attract people here to give them something to do and have an enjoyable life. and, you know, support our community groups and stuff like that. So it builds up lots of interest.
I've got
for
a question
people.
for Chi-Chi on this then. So you've been here
47 years.
47 years. What was the population approximately when you
About,
less than 10,000?
yes, most
So,
definitely.
so you've seen that was a very strong community then?
There was nothing. There were no gyms. I started the first exercise classes, and there was a slow movement of people coming in, and that's why I started Giggle and Gossip, because of the exercise classes. My husband picked up that they really weren't interested in doing knee bends and crunches.
They wanted elbow bends and
no, they were lonely
squats.
women.
Yeah, I need more exercise for this.
Yeah.
And this. Yeah.
They were lonely. They were discussing babies' knitting patterns and sewing patterns and mothers' clubs. And because he used to say to me, they'd spend an hour in there and 2 hours outside, and I'd have to be waiting for them all to leave. And then the Lantern restaurant where you do your footlights said they wouldn't mind the numbers that I get at exercises going through their restaurant, and that they were open on a Monday, but they didn't do service, and I could do a lunch. $8 they charged. So the Mirror newspaper put something in lonely people and newcomers, and I asked a few, and there were 18 of us.
Oh, goodness.
It was hysterical. It really was. It was quite funny.
Mm.
And everybody had to stand up and say who they were and what they were interested in. And in the end, there wasn't a restaurant that could take my numbers apart from Iwasaki's.
You had like
I
80
get
people.
130, 140 women
Oh, goodness.
a luncheon.
Wow.
So, you know, it was cutting people out. But if they came and mixed in, and I had the gardeners there, and I had the knitters, and I had the embroiderers club, and you name it, the Mahjong ladies. Mahjong started with Giggle and Gossip. They would all, I would put them at that table. Once they started meeting people and they became infiltrated, and that keeps you as a community.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, too, it was the business houses who gave me vouchers. So it kept people spending their money in town, not going to Rocky. Because in those days, Wednesday afternoon, every business in Yeppoon closed.
Right.
So people could go shopping in Rocky.
Oh, wow.
Well, we
Wow.
didn't have supermarkets.
Oh, of
Right.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, when
So
my parents
every
moved here, there was
business-
only that one on James Street. We didn't have a Coles, didn't have a
Yeah.
Woolworths.
Yep.
So-
Actually, and it wasn't Coles then either, I don't think. I think it was Bilo or
Bilo, that's
yeah,
right.
That was
And
30
then it
years
was
ago when
another
I moved
name
here.
before
Yeah.
then, and
I think
yeah.
it was before then, but then also that shopping centre was in a donut. So they had a butcher, and then they had the
That's right,
bakery
the
in there, and the
bakery
fruit
next
shop.
door,
Remember
fruit
the
shop?
fruit shop? And then they
Yeah,
had the
he
little
was an
food house down
Italian.
on the corner, and
yeah, he
Goodness.
was lovely.
So it's interesting because so it's good. The population growth has meant
Yes.
we have more choice and options now.
Yeah.
But interesting enough to if you want to
But
get to
You're all
Yeah.
missing something.
Right.
Why are they building that brand new highway from Rocky to Yeppoon?
The ring road.
oh no the making it a dual carriageway essentially all the way.
Yeah, massive.
Mm.
Now, there's something,
Do you mean the Quarrel turnoff?
all the way through to Rocky. It's all new, going to be all new
When was
highway.
the last time you went to Rocky?
Well, I go every week for TAFE.
Well, you
on that
obviously
Yeppoon Road, you don't
drive
go to
and
the Emu
don't
Parkway?
look.
No, I go through Yeppoon Road, but all that roadworks.
Yeah.
That's to change the Quarrel turnoff.
No, it's more than that. It's even before it all comes in, and then it's going to come across. You see all the camper vans that are there, and with the echoes of how many people have been brought in to work on that road.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
the dongers.
yeah,
They're
the
all
I know what you're talking
controversy about
about.
the
Yeah,
Coral turn off was simply because that big road because it was going to be so big that it was going to be even more dangerous for the
Just
cars to cross. So
cars.
that's why that was a big controversy
right.
about.
Now I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well,
Right?
then that needs to be extended all the way down to the coast. But
It will,
it,
but there is now. I
Mm.
had my first child in Southport, on the Gold Coast,
Mhm.
and my husband was with Hertz Rent a Car. So if a vehicle came from Brisbane down to the Gold Coast, and then they got a plane out of Coolangatta, we had to return the vehicle. Can I tell you that the trip from surface to Brisbane is Yeppoon to Rockhampton. That's how it was. It was all grass. I had horses there and everything. I can't even find where I had my horses now.
Oh,
If I go
course.
down there,
Yeah.
Wow.
it's so Rochdale, all of those going through. I mean, I bought a block of land at Rochdale for $7,000.
Oh goodness.
Seriously, yeah.
Mhm.
How much would
I
that be
won it
worth
on the
today?
Melbourne Cup.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Ah, excellent.
I got first and second,
Lovely.
and I put £25 each way because my dad gave me $100 to go to the Melbourne Cup.
Wow.
£100, I should say, and I got first and second.
And they were
Light Fingers and Zaima.
Oh God, your memory.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Incredible.
13 and 14.
Mhm.
That was 13's my lucky number, and
Mine
14
too.
my
Oh
horoscope.
my goodness. Oh
said.
wow.
Oh,
Back
and today's the
14.
14th.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
Back
what
the
There you
14,
go.
is it?
it said.
I don't know.
But
Sorry.
I said
Is it?
when
12th.
Morris and I came here,
And what actual
Close
day
enough.
is it, by the way? Just a bit.
Saturday.
Okay, all right,
Saturday.
all right.
We're all a bit off on our
Morris-
day actually. Oh
Morris
my God.
drove me from Yeppoon to Rockhampton, and I was sitting in the car, and I said, "You know what? This is deja vu." And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "When I lived in Surfers Paradise and drove to Brisbane to take vehicles for Hertz back, and that was a previous marriage, I said that was exactly, I would love it and think, oh, isn't this lovely country? Oh, look at those cows." Now,
Not a cow in sight.
not a cow in sight, you know.
Not the four-legged variety anyway.
Well, not in this room anyway.
No, no, can be
But
one
I'm
sometimes.
just saying, this is what's happening now.
Mm.
They're doing that road because they expect this to go ahead.
Yeah, and
But it needs to go ahead with a little bit more foresight than
Yes.
a Tyler as a mayor,
yeah,
a Churchy, a Surfy. Come on, let's be very honest. They're our councillors.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm not, they're all nice people, but they haven't travelled and they're not aware.
Yep. And I think the biggest point there then is to stress is that, you know, you can't just bring your mate in as a consultant who also isn't that switched on, because if he hasn't
That's
brought that to the
right.
table with the $60,000 that he's received in the last 3 months, I think it was
Yes.
extended, so twice as much money, which is absolutely revolting thought considering where we are financially as a shire. You know, like, where's the strategic plan for the rest of, like, everything? For us to cut out the bottlenecks that are heading out of town now with our current population, we need to make all the scenic highway from at least Lammermoor up through Cooey Bay and out onto the highway 4 lanes, which means another bridge across Ross Creek. Tamby, we can't divert everyone through Tamby past a school.
You're going to
but
have
that needs to have 4
difficulty.
lanes too. Tamby needs to be 4 lanes,
You
and
can't
the roads
do
need
4
to
lanes
connect up.
on the coast.
Yep.
No
Well, then
way,
it'll
because you
all-
haven't got the area.
Yep,
You're
not
into
anymore,
people's
yes.
gardens
Well,
and
I was
everything.
thinking it'll have to go behind the houses. That front bit of the road would have to go, and it would have to happen behind the houses.
which is the sand pits.
Yeah.
It is actually a sand dune, so that
Mm.
level is a
Sand-
sand,
and
and
you know
behind
what?
it drops right down.
Well,
That's
so
against the law.
impossible. Then
can't
that
do
means
it. Beach
Tamby
protection.
Road.
will have to have 4
Tamby
lanes.
is
Yep.
your
And all of that then has to join up to Scenic Highway. There has to be roads all the way along there that join up, and people can filter out through there. They'll have to fix up that
Have
post
you
office
seen
turn
the
off
traffic
road.
on Tamby Road of
And
the morning?
appalling, yeah. And the way people drive is ridiculous. Everyone seems to think they're going to get there half an hour earlier if they do 130 overtaking other cars.
But you have see the thing
We need to
is
It's true, you can
filter
get there
people
half an
out.
hour earlier if you go 100. I've
Oh.
tried, it does work.
yes.
But we could filter people off also through to Emu Park Road for people who work on the south side of Rockhampton. If they fix that Tamby turn off where Old Post Office Road turn off is, if they upgraded that road, people could filter off that way as well. So if you needed to take the pressure off, which you absolutely need to take the pressure off Cooey Bay area, get people getting across that bridge in the morning by heading people off down to Tamby Road.
Now you see, Tyler doesn't see the main road quite in that light,
Mm.
and I'm being honest. You know, you have to have travelled, and most of those that are here haven't lived anywhere else,
Mm.
so they have a small town mentality.
Mm.
Jesus Christ, I lived in Holland. Talk about bicycle heaven.
Mm.
You know,
Yep.
everybody was on bikes and everything.
Yep.
Here, anybody on a bike doesn't know that there is a special bike path.
Well, I tell you what, if they had Tamby as 4 lanes and filtering off traffic that way, a lot more people could ride their bike on that front bit of road because
the
it would be
council,
safer.
in their, if they had a strategy, they'd say we
Yep.
need this much money from the state government for this massive road.
Yep.
Then we also need to have large pathways because we've already got the e-scooters
Yep.
here already.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to be extra wide
Mm.
pathways. They need to be trees planted for shade because
Yep.
it will be too hot for people to travel along
Absolutely.
there.
Yep.
We need to think of bus bays. Where are they going to cut in the bus bays?
Yep.
Where are we going to have the taxi ranks that are undercover?
Yep.
There's a whole range of thinking.
Even that point in itself with the trees, so they have figured out now that economically it is more viable to have a tree-scaped city than it is to have no trees. You actually save money as a council having a tree-scaped city.
Right.
Mm.
But
We'll have to find
the
that and
thing
bring it up
is,
at another time because that's
main
so important.
roads.
Right.
It's not council. It's main roads who have got to do those roads.
Well, that's what I'm saying too, where the 3 levels of government
Yes,
need to come
get
together. And this is what happens when party politics gets in the way of, oh, such and such doesn't give this, and oh, such and such doesn't give that, and oh, they sack so many people. It's like, shut up. Just get your mind on the job, and this town needs the work done. Get together and start planning, start creating a strategy. Who cares what such and such did last election cycle? Each level of government needs to come together to create a plan and not think about and not think about petty politicking. It's like it got nothing to do with petty politics. It's like, sorry, we need a strategy, and we need you
So
to.
you're saying like arguing about the names of islands, or whether that space should be this sport facility or that sport facility.
Yep.
We actually need to talk about for every with the figures you gave about 23,000 people.
Hi, Pauline.
And
Okay.
it's not, it's Beryl.
Oh,
Beryl!
I want to finish this thought.
yeah, good.
So I might just say it so we can remember it, and I'll say it again. 23,000 people coming in 10 years, that's 2,300 per year.
Yeah.
That works out to be about 7 or 8 people per day.
Yes.
So all those people are going to need doctors. So we know, well, how many doctors? So every 200 people, you need a doctor. So then we go, okay, with that. And then that doctor has a partner who may be educated. So we've got to make sure we have those educated, high-paying jobs. So there's a formula there.
Yes.
That we need to work out of what we want to
Absolutely.
hear, and then advocate and push for what those other levels of government can provide.
Yes. Hi, Beryl.
All right, hey Beryl, how you going? I was in the middle of
Come
a
in.
middle of a thought bubble that I needed to get out because I know I'd never remember it again.
And we'll bring it up again in a minute. Let's just see how long. Oh, are we?
We've got our
Well,
little
that was
film
perfect
studio.
timing,
We've got a camera
because
there. Our
I've-
sound person.
That's right. Have you met my son, Callum? No, this is Beryl. So I've only got an hour 20 battery, and we've gone for an hour 10. So now's
We're
a
gonna
good
need to break.
time because we can stop and
Good
we can do
timing.
all the stuff, and that's perfect. Thank
And look
you.
what we have.
You've given us a break, and that's wonderful. Pop your cork. And
So you all finished?
no,
No.
we got another hour, but you can certainly be a special guest. And well, you
Have
can
a drink.
listen.
You don't have to say anything, darling.
That'd be a first.
Do you want a glass?